So your great friend, RFK Jr.,
who I met once, yes. Right.
Well, but you met him in a very interesting drug
Yes.
deal. For new listeners and new viewers, could you give an abbreviated version of your cocaine deal with him when you were both at Harvard together?
Yes.
Because it was hugely popular last time you mentioned it.
Well, and if you'd like the fuller version, Atlantic Monthly of September of 2024, I tell the story.
Although you don't have the bit about the straw.
That was only for you. That was only for the Daily Beast.
And it got so many comments. People were repelled by the straw anecdote.
Good.
Anyway,
I'd never bought or tried cocaine freshman year in college. Heard a lot about it back then in the early 70s. Found out that Bobby Kennedy was the cocaine dealer of our class. So I don't know. I called a guy who called a guy, and there I was in his room with my roommate. Consummating this drug deal for a gram of cocaine for $40. A lot of money in 1973 or whatever it was. Tried it, looked at his phone book, found Pope Paul VI's phone number.
I love that. Okay, just so people understand, he went out to access his stash.
Correct.
You rifled through.
He and his brother, Joe Kennedy III, future congressman, went out to get his stash. Yes. When we just hey, and he invited us to smoke as much weed that he'd had sitting around on his backgammon board as we'd like. And we saw this big address book and looked through it and saw these names of Kennedys and famous people and the then current Pope.
So funny.
Paul VI. And we wrote down thinking we'll make crank calls to the Vatican or something. I don't know what we thought. But anyway, it comes back. We try the coke. We pay him off. We go away. I had pocketed inadvertently the little piece of plastic, dining hall straw with which we snorted the cocaine. And he called me at my dorm room 10 minutes later, angry, appalled, upset that I had taken his straw, man. And I said, what? I didn't say, I'm new to this. What? Okay, I'll bring it back. But I did, and he insisted, and he was angry, and he took it, and he basically slammed the door on me. But he had this whole theory of why the straw was so important to him, not lucky or anything, but that it had crystals growing in it, was his theory of the case, which was some idea that cocaine grows in a crystalline form when it's mixed with mucus on the inside of a straw. I don't know, but that was the theory of the future chief medical science officer of the United States at the time.
Well, and you didn't know at the time that he was also a poet, a fledgling poet, which we have learned this week because his digital girlfriend, Olivia Nuzzi, a former reporter at the Daily Beast, sadly before my time because she's a terrific writer, has a memoir coming out about their digital affair. And coincidentally, in a publishing bonanza for the women around RFK Jr., his wife, Cheryl Hines, the actress we know from Curb Your Enthusiasm, also has a memoir coming out. And I thought, and then, of course, the complicating factor is that Olivia Nuzzi's produced her book, American Canto, and her ex-fiancé, Ryan Lizzer, has now taken upon himself to write his version of their relationship. And I'm going to read you from his installments on Substack.
And by the way, it should be noted, has been a senior respected journalist until...
Yeah, he was political correspondent of The New Yorker.
I worked with him a little bit at New York Magazine back in the days. Yes, indeed. No, he's been around, and so they're both. I mean, these are not just, random people who get into a scandalous set of.
Well, and I can't help wondering: have they set all this up themselves? Is this because it looks as if Ryan, having read her book, or at least had access to the excerpts, has thought, well, this is not what happened. I'm going to write my truth, as we refer to it these days.
On their journey.
Yeah, he's on their journey. But it feels as if perhaps he is really taking issue with her story. They could have concocted the whole thing, and it's a fake row playing out in public for us all to get very interested
I doubt that very much.
You think it's real?
I do think it's real.
Okay, so I'm going to read you. This is Ryan has stumbled across some poetry that RFK Jr. has sent to Olivia. I'm going to try and read it with a straight face. It's quite difficult. And I will say, probably 20 people sent me this over the weekend saying, have you read? Your open mouth awaiting my harvest. Drink from me, love. He continues, I mean to squeeze your cheeks, to force open your mouth. Sounds really kind of fun, doesn't it? I'll hold your nose as you look up to me to encourage you to swallow. I don't know what he's referring to here. Don't spill a drop. I am a river, you are my canyon. I mean to flow through you. Oh, I mean to subdue and tame you, my love.
Yeah, it's again, in terms of remarkable moments. I mean, what struck me...
It's just not.
What struck me, too, is that my only relationship with him... I mean, I saw him around college and over time in New York and Santa Fe and elsewhere I've seen him. I've only encountered him and talked to him on that one time when we were freshmen in college. And the thing is, he was, that was reckless, committing a narcotics felony in 1973, selling cocaine. But he was reckless in general then, and everyone. I knew many of his close friends, and they were appalled by his recklessness, driving, for instance, turning off the headlights at night and driving through tunnels and things like that. And so he was a reckless adolescent then. This poem, first of all, reckless because he's married and he's running for president, and like, dude, really, but it's so a cringe in a particularly, to me, adolescent way. This 70-year-old man, or whatever he was at the time, writing this thing to this, woman who's almost 40 years younger than he. So the romantic-y porn, version of love poetry. I don't know. I mean, who am I to judge anybody of anything? However, it's just, oh my God, beyond just the embarrassment of revelations about one's sex life or non-sex life or virtual sex life or postmodern adultery, or whatever it is, just the sheer awfulness of the poetry in its adolescent way was the thing that struck me. But then, I pretend to be a writer, and I guess Bobby doesn't. He's just a romantic. He's just a Byronic figure.
He's just a Byronic figure with his eyes that Olivia calls blue as, I think, blue as gas or blue as flame. Perhaps gas is less romantic.
And he always got the girls. This is. To an extreme and, famously now we know kind of sex addict way, and sleeping with women in every stop along his various barnstorming tours of America as an activist.
As an activist. The thing I find strange about it is the violence in it. Holding your nose, squeezing your cheeks. I mean to subdue and tame you.
100%, which again... Like, I mean, an adolescent might not dare to do. An adolescent who, unlike people 50 years ago, has seen a lot of porn, might be inspired to have this violent, porn-like, fantasy encounter with this woman. But yeah, no, I agree. I mean, short of, and then I will strike you and punch you or something. I mean, it was hideous in exactly that, yes, practically death-dealing descriptions of this.
Well, and also to your point about recklessness, he's sending it to a journalist who's profiling him and who is engaged to another journalist. I got a very interesting note from a viewer, Dimitri, thank you, who has created, I didn't fully understand what it was, but it was a sort of AI informational thing that focuses on what voters respond to. And his point was that in the age of where porn is available to everybody, people were actually impressed and rather envious of Donald Trump's romantic life. So his affair with Stormy Daniels, they sort of understood and forgave. His cheating on Marla Maples with Melania, they understood and forgave. They totally understood why he had an affair with Marla Maples when he was married to Ivana. And that sense of, oh, actually, this is impressive. And it's actually a qualifying factor, not disqualifying in the way it used to be.
I first noted that when I wrote this piece for The New Yorker in 1988 called The Entertainer-in-Chief, pegged to Bill Clinton and his then Monica Lewinsky scandal.
Right.
And seeing it as part of a history of this turning of presidential politics into a subset of show business, right? And what I noted is that his approval ratings went up during this thing.
Right.
Because, Bubba's a dirty guy getting it, like we all want to, you know? I mean, so I really think it humanized him. And again, as I said in that piece, made was a great plot twist for the new season of Clinton.
Right.
You know?
Right.
As he was about to be reelected, you know. So there is a history of this, of presidential, you know, oh no, we like that in a man, you know.
It's so interesting. And then we have at the same time, unscripted by Cheryl Hines,
Mrs. Robert F. Kennedy.
Mrs. Robert Kennedy, yes, his third wife, whose story begins, of course, in small-town Florida and unfolds across the glittering stages of Hollywood and right into the heart of the Kennedy family and a presidential campaign. And then a bit further down, I'm reading from the Amazon description of her book that the publishers have put out. Cheryl navigates the highs and lows of fame, family, and an unexpected foray into politics, complete with twists no one saw coming. Indeed. So do we think, are you going to be buying, which book is going to sell better, the wife's book or the digital mistress's book?
I can't, I mean, if I had to bet, I would say Olivia Nuzzi's book will sell better. You know, I mean, no one would buy Cheryl Hines' book were it not for this business and the fact that Bobby Kennedy is now this, you know, loved and loathed figure and all that. I don't know. And I don't honestly care, but I personally, partly because I'm an acquaintance of Olivia Nuzzi's, and partly because she's had as you said earlier, she is a good writer and an amazing reporter. Now, from what I've seen of this excerpt that I read in Vanity Fair of the book, you know, those of us who are writers, and there are certain things we are better at than others, and I'm not sure this kind of revelatory romantic memoir is necessarily her forte, but we'll see. I haven't read it yet. I've only read bits of it.